Matt from Iowa writes in, he says, Frank, there's a precedent for God-directed lying. He goes to 1 Samuel 16. And the context here is that God has had it with Saul as the king of Israel. And he wants to install a new king. So he tells Samuel, the prophet, to go anoint a new king. And here's what the passage says, beginning in verse 1 of chapter 16. It says, the Lord said to Samuel, how long will you mourn for Saul, since I have rejected him as king over Israel? Fill your horn with oil and be on your way. I'm sending you to Jesse of Bethlehem. I have chosen one of his sons to be king. Jesse, of course, the father of David, among other sons. But Samuel said, how can I go? Saul will hear about it and kill me. The Lord said, take a heifer with you and say, I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Invite Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show you what to do. You are to anoint me. You are to anoint for me the one I indicate. Samuel did what the Lord said. When he arrived at Bethlehem, the elders of the town trembled when they met him. Imagine that. You see this prophet coming and they're trembling. So they trembled when they met him, and they asked, do you come in peace? Samuel replied, yes, in peace. I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Consecrate yourselves and come to the sacrifice with me. Then he consecrated Jesse and his sons and invited them to the sacrifice. And it goes on to say that he ultimately consecrates and anoints David as the new king of Israel. And so Samuel says, Samuel was scared that Saul would hear he was going to anoint another. So God said, just lie about why you were going. Is that really what happens here? Here's the problem. Abraham was judged by God for telling the half-truth that Sarah was his sister. She was his half-sister, when she was really his wife. And this is from Genesis chapter 12, when Abraham and Sarah went down to Egypt. It says, however, in this passage, 1 Samuel 16, which we just read, God actually encourages Samuel to tell only half of the truth, namely that he had come to offer a sacrifice when he had also come to anoint David king as well. So two problems emerge from this. First, did not God encouraged deception here? And second, why did God condemn Abraham for the same thing that he commanded Samuel to do? Now here's the solution, according to Geisler and Howe. The first thing to note in response to this problem is that the two situations are not the same. In Abraham's case, his so-called half-truth was really a whole lie. For the question he was asked was, is Sarah your wife? And his answer, in effect, was really, no, she is my sister. By this answer to the question, Abraham intentionally misrepresented the facts of the situation, which is a lie. Samuel's case was different. The question was asked, why have you come to Bethlehem? His answer was, I've come to sacrifice to the Lord. This was truthful in that it corresponded with the facts. Namely, it is why he came, and it is what he did. The fact that he also had another purpose for coming is not directly related to the question he was asked and the answer he gave, as it was in Abraham's case. Of course, had Samuel been asked, do you have any other purpose for coming? Then he would have had to come clean and say no. To say no would have been a deception. Secondly, concealment and deception are not the same. Samuel certainly concealed one of the purposes of his mission so as to save his life. It is not always necessary, even possible, to tell all the truth. In fact, or the fact that God told Samuel to conceal one of the purposes of his visit to avoid possible death does not necessarily mean he was guilty of lying. Not telling part of the truth and telling a falsehood are not necessarily the same. Secrecy and concealment are not the same as duplicity and falsehood. It's not lying when you don't reveal all the truth.